I think Matt Rhule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers will be the breakout team of 2024. Tell you why. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. There are huge expectations in Lincoln, Nebraska this year. Can't wait to talk about them. Can't wait to see the season. We'll run down the schedule, give some one-loss predictions, and some other news about Memorial Stadium and some recruiting we'll share with you. So we're loaded. Nebraska Husker fans, this is the place for you right here. Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl game since 2016. And I think that streak stops here this year with the Huskers. They're definitely going bowling. But how much higher of a bar can they set than just that? Let's talk about that for a minute. Matt Rhule heads into year 2 at Lincoln, and the Huskers would have earned bowl eligibility last year on a 5-7 season. They lost a lot of games close, but they were just turning the ball over left and right. We're going to talk about that. And they lost every game in November. They were that close to finally getting to a bowl game. So I want to see this year, 5-star freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. I want to see him under center right away, or maybe they're going to decide to ease him into the lineup. But I think they should go right away. I'm curious to see how they do in week 2 versus Coach Prime and Colorado. They're doing a rebuild. They need to take a big step forward. That's going to be a big game. So we'll see. Both teams desperately need to take a step forward. In that week 2 matchup, somebody's going to go up, somebody's going to go down. So we're looking forward to that one. But let's talk about 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola. We've talked about him quite a bit here on this podcast. It's a very interesting topic to talk about. And he might be exactly what the Huskers need as far as taking that next step forward in the Big Ten and getting to a bowl game. And as I alluded to just a second ago, the Huskers were just a huge turnover machine at quarterback last year as they rotated through Jeff Sims and Heinrich Harburg and Chubba Purdy. You know, the team as a whole turned the ball over 31 times. That was the worst number in the country. The worst. Last. Their turnover ratio of -17 was the second worst. Only Temple was worse at -20. So if Raiola starts out of the box as a true freshman, again, which I think he should, I don't care how good he is, there's going to be a learning curve here. That means there's going to be a few mistakes. There's going to be turnovers. But if the Huskers can suffer a reasonable amount and maybe manage that a little bit better than last year, I think that'll go a long way. And there's going to be some. He's a freshman. So they take care of that a little bit, even just improve a little bit. They'll win a game or 2 or 3 more, those close one-score games that they seem to let go by the wayside, whether it was last year or Scott Frost's team before. I think they could be right there and make a nice little run and have a nice season. But those are the kind of things that cost them bowl eligibility if you want to start somewhere, going back to 2016. Now, I know Heinrich Harburg has returned. He's part of the group of quarterbacks that played last year. He's got some experience, but I would let him be the experienced backup quarterback that every coach desires to have on their roster. Now, the problem is Raiola turned 19 in May. That's pretty young. That's pretty young. It's a big ask for a true freshman to roll in there and start at QB1 on day 1 of Power 4 football. But I think this is where Nebraska's going. I think they need to do it. If there are any lumps to be had, get them out of the way and start rolling forward. There's a lot of excitement about the whole Raiola story, too. If you're a Husker fan, you know about this. I mean, he was all set to go to the Georgia Bulldogs. And you got to give credit to Matt Rhule and his staff. They never gave up on the kid. Usually if a kid makes a big old announcement, he's a 5-star and he's going to Georgia, that's a wrap, usually. But they kept after him. They have some family ties, and they played the family card to get him to come to Nebraska with the family, Raiola's family history. And of course, he has a relative on the staff right now. And he decided to change his mind coming to Nebraska. Now, the other thing I would be excited to see, and we saw a little bit of this in the spring game, is the less outdated offense they were running last year. They really were. I mean, last year, Matt Rhule brought an old school Nebraska type offense. It was option football where the quarterback was pretty much the first run option. They had a lot of rushing yards at quarterback last year. That's a bit outdated in my opinion, and it's an offense that's too risky to put your quarterback in where you can get hit and get hurt. They're just prone to get those hits. Now, Dylan Raiola is not that guy. He's not going to be he's not there to be an option run first quarterback. He's a passer. Looks really good in the pocket and throwing the ball. I'm just going on what I've seen in the spring game. He passed the eyeball test. This isn't hyperbole. Kid's going to be pretty good. So the entire offense will be a little more up to date. The offense, the guys coming back, the coaching staff, everything, everybody's going to adapt here and kind of change as they go along. That may take a minute. It might take a little bit of time. So how patient is Nebraska fan going to be with all this entire process? Again, I just set up the first half of this podcast laying out how important it is for Nebraska to end up, at least be bowl eligible this year. You got to get it. People, they're a rabid fan base. They desperately want this. But what if it means you got to take a half step backward to let a freshman quarterback get used to things? Maybe you start out slower. The schedule is to Nebraska's advantage here. We're going to look at that in just a minute, though. So maybe that won't be the case. But I know Husker fans are dying for an exceptional football team. And I think there's so much excitement around Raiola. I think, they may soften expectations early on. If there are mistakes, going to be some sort of learning curve, but he can also, maybe he'll surprise a lot of people and just take off on day one, or at least game two, maybe. So let's talk about that, because the Huskers are a lot more than just Raiola at quarterback. Let's remember a couple things. Watching the spring game, Demetrius Bell, wide receiver, he was injured in that game. So they've got a couple of big senior transfers at wide receiver. Jamal Banks, big guy, 6'4", spent 4 years at Wake Forest, all conference in 2022. Isaiah Nair, 6'3", started out of Texas, then went to Wyoming, where he was all conference there. The middle of the offensive line, there's a lot of experience up there. Of course, their center anchors it there at 6'5", 305 pounds. Ben Scott, their senior. He was honorable mention all Big Ten last year. And on the right side, don't forget tackle Bryce Benhart, 6'9". These guys are getting bigger and bigger. 6'9", 315 pounds, and a senior. Also honorable mention, all Big Ten. And has tied a Nebraska record with 41 starts and 41 starts at right tackle. So he'll break those records. He'll get his 42nd start at the beginning of the season, assuming he's healthy through the summer here. There's running back Gabe Urban Jr. looked promising last year, but then got hurt about a third of the way through the season. He was a leading rusher when he got hurt. He's coming back. And now let's look at the other side of the ball, because the Husker defense was pretty good last year. They were ranked inside the top 20 against the run, quarterback sacks. They only gave up 18 points per game. We're talking about a lot of premier defenses in the Big Ten last year, like Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State were 1, 2, 3, not only in the Big Ten, but nationally. Nebraska wasn't that far behind when it came to scoring defense as well, at 18 points per game. You got guys on the defensive line like Nash, Hutmacher, he's back. Ty Robinson back. Edge rusher Jamiri Butler is back. 8.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks to lead the Huskers last year. So they're still strong and stout up front defensively. A little bit of an experiment here. There's a guy at right corner. He's a sophomore transfer, Bly Hill. He's from St. Francis, coming from a smaller school, going to play Big Ten football at Nebraska, but he very well may be slotted into the starter spot on the depth chart. Got 3 years of eligibility left, and He had 6 pass breakups and 2 interceptions last year. We'll see how he does in the Big Ten. And then safety Isaac Gifford is back. He led the team in tackles last year. So there's a lot of good experience coming back on a very stingy defense. We spent a lot of time talking about offense. Obviously, Raiola at quarterback's going to get a lot of the attention, but that defense kept them in a lot of games. You keep that offense in the game with playing good defense. If the offense doesn't turn the ball over and put the defense in a hole, you might have something here. I think you can win a few more games. If you were 5-7 last year, I think you can get a few more and have a really good year if you win a couple of those 50-50 ball games we're going to look at in a moment. So, in short, this good defensive unit with any consistency out of the offense to match with it, this team will take a step forward in 2024. So, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty bullish on the Huskers. I've been talking about them a lot. I like talking about them, and I think they're going to be a good team this year, a breakout team. They're not going to win the Big Ten championship or even be in the Big Ten championship game, but they're going to be an impressive, formidable football team this year. A lot of people are kind of getting on board lately, putting them on their watch list, like their hot chic pick, if you will. But if you're an everydayer here at Locked On Big Ten, we've been very bullish on Nebraska for a long time. Hey, if you don't mind, if you haven't already, we're making our march to 10,000 subscribers. We're in the 9,000s now. Subscribe. Just click the button and you're subscribed. No other information required. It's free, and you can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And by the way, Huskers fans, don't forget to pick up some Huskers swag for the upcoming season. Shirts, hats, T-shirts, pennants, coffee mugs, all with the Huskers logo on it. We have it right on our website where we put all of our podcasts. It's talkbig10.com, right into the number 10, talkbig10, number 10.com. All of our podcasts are there, chronological order, and also we group them by schools. So you're a Huskers fan. These podcasts all kind of focus on the Huskers today. They're all there, easy to find. And while you're there, click on some merch and get yourself all geared up as a fan for the upcoming season right there. TalkBig10, number 10.com. All right, we are going to navigate the Huskers schedule here and do a little one loss. We'll see how many. Probably have a little bit of a range. I don't know if I'm going to give an exact number. Vegas has it at 7.5, which is better than last year, right? So we'll take a look at all that right here on Locked On Big Ten. Passion, drive, and patience is the winning formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Tell your friends about us. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, and follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10, number 10.com, for all of your favorite Big Ten merchandise, Huskers fans, all of it right there, and all of our podcasts at talkbig10.com. All right. Vegas has the Huskers and FanDuel, our friends there, 7.5 wins. That's the win total. So you think they win more than that or less than that? Look, the 7.5 is good because everybody thinks the Huskers will be better than their 5-7 record last year, and they will be bowl eligible. Ta-da! Going bowling. Now, that's the first goal, to go bowling, period. Matt Rhule and his staff, they got the biggest transfer flip in college football this year with Raiola, 5-star. and they only have one road game before the middle of October, and that's a winnable day to Purdue. We're going to look at all this. They got some tough games on there: Ohio State, USC, Wisconsin, Iowa, but no Michigan, no Oregon, no Penn State. So let's hash through it here and figure it out. All right, season opener, Saturday, August 31st. Home game against UTEP. Probably going to be Raiola's first college snaps. I don't know if he's the starter right away or comes in later, but that's going to be a lot of excitement. It's going to be on Fox. It's a 3:30 game Eastern time. I think they win that game. Okay. Week 2, Colorado is going to tell the Huskers a lot. It's at home. It was a home and home series. At 7:30 prime time. Get to play prime time on prime time. NBC. Now, Colorado, obviously, they got a pretty good quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, and they got a brand new offensive line. Again, they're going to go up against a veteran defense of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And you know how long it takes to get offensive lines, like the unit, it takes time to gel. I think advantage Nebraska here on this one. I think Nebraska wins this game. It's going to be huge. And because it's on national TV, Dylan Raiola becomes a national star story at that point. Huskers are 2-0. Then they take on Northern Iowa in the third week. That is a 7:30 game on the Big Ten Network. All right, so 3-0. Now, couple of, I'll call them 50-50 games. They got a home game against Illinois, September 20th. I think Illinois is going to be much improved this year, much like Nebraska. I'm a fan of Luke Altmaier, their quarterback. This is an 8 o'clock nationally televised game on Fox, by the way. I think they win this 50-50 game. We can give them the win, but now 4-0 for the Huskers, okay? Following week at Purdue. All right, I think they win that game because I think Purdue's got some work to do. That's a 12 o'clock game, by the way. Maybe between Illinois and Purdue. Let's bring our expectations, make them a little reasonable here. Between Illinois and Purdue, maybe they split those 1-1. All right, so now you're 4-1. October 5th, you got Rutgers. This is another tough game. It's home, though. Could be 5-1. At Indiana the next week, 6-1. At Ohio State after that, look, the Buckeyes are going to win that game. 6-2. Then you got UCLA. You got them at home. UCLA. They're starting over. 7-2 at the 7-1, 7-2 at this point. You got 3 more games at Southern Cal. Look, that's going to be tough. Going on the road, Southern Cal, maybe 7-3 at this point. And then you close it out at home against Wisconsin and then on the road at Iowa. That's the Friday, Black Friday, after a 7:30 game on NBC, day after Thanksgiving. Man, maybe you go win a couple of those, or one of the two. Maybe you split them. You win them both, you got yourself a special season. So UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa. It's 3 wins right there. Either Illinois or Purdue, 4. Rutgers is going to be tough. You could win it, though. 5. Indiana, 6. UCLA, 7. Wisconsin would be 8. And if you get the Iowa game at the end of the season, that's 9. That's at Kinnick. That'd be tough. So as I'd say at least 8. I'd say 8 wins. I'll take the over on the 7.5. I think it's a pretty good season. I think Matt Rhule's rolling. And if you win any of these other 50-50 games out here that we're talking about with Iowa or, whatever the case may be, Illinois, you're talking 9 wins. You take that, right? Absolutely. Win them all, you win 10, but go 10-2. But anyway, I'll put it at 8. I'll take the over 7.5. I'll take the 8 wins. That's a pretty good year for year number 2 for Matt Rhule. What do you think about that? Love to hear from you. Hit me up on Twitter at Talk Big 10, number 10, or on YouTube. All the comments always come in there, and our website, talkbig10.com. All right. Got some more news for you coming up about the Huskers. But first, are you watching Daytime TV with Fox Sports or ESPN all day. You ever notice you turn down the volume because they're always talking louder and screaming and over each other and trying to make a point by being louder? Instead of turning them down, turn them off. Go to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or for the on free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we got some other Huskers news for you regarding Memorial Stadium and a little bit of recruiting news, and we'll tell you who we're going to look at tomorrow here on Locked On Big Ten. All that's coming up in just 1 minute. Stay with us. All right, as we roll here on Locked On Big Ten, we'll talk a little bit more about the Huskers. Lots to talk about. Big, exciting season here. So we've talked about how there are renovations coming at Memorial Stadium. I mean, the place has been around for 100 years. Time for a little tune-up. And on the field, of course, the Huskers have been playing on this field turf. Well, not for long. Nebraska is planning to install natural grass inside Memorial Stadium. Their new athletic director, Troy Dannon, he said the change would happen probably as soon as the 2026 season. So that means 2 more seasons of playing on the turf, and then they're going to go to natural grass out there. I think a lot of people will be excited about that. And Matt Rhule, he's on the record as saying that he thinks grass is safer for players than the turf they've been playing on. Nebraska's have been playing on some sort of artificial turf since the 1970s. I mean, remember those Tom Osborne days? That just looked like hard green paint over cement back in the day. So that'll look good. I think there'll be a lot of people will be excited about that. And we also have a little bit of recruiting news for Nebraska. 4-star corner Bryson Weber from Texas. He's picked the Huskers over TCU and Utah. He's Matt Rhule's 4th 4-star of the class of 2025. Now the Huskers are inside the top 30 as far as ranking the 2025 class. We got a top 30 class, top 29 class right now. 16 commits coming in for 2025. This Weber kid, he's 6'3", good size, 180 pounds. Ran a 10.5 100 as a junior in track. He's fast. Gotta like that. He's also the first defensive commit since the changes that have gone on at Nebraska, of course. Evan Cooper resigned July 5th, and one of the assistants and former NFL assistant and former Penn State defensive coordinator John Butler replaced him on the staff a week later. Good job by Matt Rhule to take care of that quickly. As you know, you don't get a lot of resignations in July, and it came up, and boom, he had a replacement ready to go. Very good job by Matt Rhule. And they were able to keep these commitments and the recruiting going without really missing a beat over there. So congratulations to them. Hey, many ways for you to interact with me. First of all, if you're a Nebraska fan, you liked what you saw today, tell your friends about us as we preview the upcoming season with high hopes for the Huskers. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at the Iowa Hawkeyes. They've had a lot of changes on offense as far as the coaching staff goes. We'll see what it means on the football field, see if they can get any better offensively to go along with the pretty good defense. In the meantime, many ways for you to interact with me on Twitter or X at TalkBig10, number 10. Don't forget our website, talkbig10, number 10.com. Write out the number, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there. And again, don't forget, get your merchandise, your fan stuff, shirts, hats, whatever, before the start of the season right there on the website. No matter what you do, be sure to subscribe. Just click the button. It's free. We're making our march to 10,000 subscribers. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Audio versions, if you listen to podcasts on audio or Apple or wherever you're at, that's great. The audio version comes out at 4 a.m. Eastern time. The video one on YouTube comes out at 6 o'clock Eastern every single day. So you get subscribed, you're ready to go. Locked On has launched the first ever Sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering all the top sports stories of the day. The local experts from Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel there when you're done with us. But we invite you to watch more episodes of Locked On Big Ten before you go anywhere. So again, they're on their website, talkbig10.com. Have a great day. Thank you for spending some time with us. We never take that for granted. We always appreciate it. Tell your friends about us. We love to have more and more of you with us every day. It's a big bandwagon. Everybody jump on. It's going to be a very exciting Big Ten football season this year for sure, and especially with the addition of 4 teams. That'll do it. Can't wait till we meet next time. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten. Talk to you next time.